And hello, everybody, and welcome to Two Guys Talking Sports. I'm Pat McDonald with Radigan Media and Choice 102. He's Tim Burney of the Sports Reports. Tim, we're here for episode 3 of our second season featuring Tioga head coach Nick Aiello. Before we talk to Coach, let's talk a little bit about Tioga Windsor opening their season Saturday over at Memorial Stadium in Waverly as part of the doubleheader this year in week 00. So 11 practices in for both Tioga and Windsor before they take the field. When you look at this Tioga team, last year it seemed like injury after injury happened week after week for these guys, and they still made it to the section final and almost won that game.
Yeah, but, lost in overtime. But it seems like last year the injury bug bit them, so maybe this year they're due for some good health going forward. If you look at it, they went 7-4 last year. They lost to Delhi twice, who won this Class D title. They lost to Shenango Forks, who won the Class C title. And they lost to Waverly, who lost to Forks in the Class C title game. So, not a bad loss on that bunch. And they've got a lot back this year. They lost a couple linemen, but they're going to be big up front. They're going to be really athletic. I like where this team's at right this year. If they stay healthy, I think they're the team to beat in Class D.
I think last year kind of was a transition year for them. Like some of these guys that are now their leaders were kind of getting their first run of being the leaders last year, right? And nothing really went their way. But when you look at, Bellis and Duncanson, Jaden Duncanson, that is,
and Logan Bellis.
And then Shane Platukas, who kind of emerged last year as the next running back, maybe. I think they should be primed for a big year.
I think so. And they've got kids like Gavin Kithcart and Dominic Palmer who could be impact players for them, whether it's receiving. I think Kithcart's going to get a chance to run the ball a little bit this year. Palmer's going to be in the slot and split out, and they're going to move him around tight end. So I think they've got a lot of weapons. It's a matter of can they put it all together.
And so they'll have a good test week 1, I think. Windsor, kind of an up-and-coming team, had a decent year a year ago, and well coached, obviously, with Coach Hogan up there.
They lost their quarterback, though. He was kind of the straw that stirred the drink, and he was really talented. I have no doubt they'll be a good team there, and like you said, Tim Hogan, great coach. But they just it's going to be interesting to see if they can replace the quarterback.
So before we talk to Coach Aiello, when you're looking at a final score, what are you thinking?
I like Tioga in this game. I think it's going to be 26-14, something like that. I don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I like Tioga.
Yeah, I like Tioga too. I guess I'm a little more bullish on them maybe. I think 35-21. It's similar, but yeah, I think they're going to score some points. I think Shane Platukas really is. He stood out to me last year. The couple of games I saw him,
and he's a lot bigger this year.
Yeah, 50 pounds heavier.
Yeah,
coach is going to tell you
tipping about 225. So
I think between him and Duncanson and Bellis, it should be a triple-headed monster there. And you mentioned some other. I'm sure there's other people that were missing too. But so right now we're going to send it to our interview with Tioga coach Nick Aiello. But before that, you're going to hear from our sponsor, UHS Sports Medicine.
UHS Sports Medicine is your team's partner, keeping you healthy both on and off the field. Learn more at nyuhs.org.
And joining us now here on Two Guys Talking Sports is Tioga head coach Nick Aiello. How are we doing, Coach?
Pretty good. It's been good preseason.
So let's talk about the preseason. Obviously, last season was a little different for you guys, not making it to the Syracuse, and a bunch of injuries. Where are you at with that now? Is the group pretty healthy going into the season?
Yeah, we returned quite a bit from last year, and the kids are hungry. So it was a really good summer, and going through this preseason, it just kind of it seems like a different attitude, and everybody's a year older. So I think that's helping our cause, and they're putting the work in right now. So we just have to maintain that.
A little change in the backfield for you this year. I see Jackson Bombard back after a year away from the program. Jaden Duncanson going to be a little bit halfback and Wildcat. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, just speaking specifically to those two, with having Jack back on playing football after taking a year off, he's a really smart athlete, and he's got great hands. He plays point guard for the basketball team. He's a good baseball player, and And when you get that type of athlete in there, you want him on the field. You don't want him standing on the sideline. So a lot of thought went into that. I think he's going to be able to run our offense and what we're trying to do. And then the other guy, Jaden, I felt that we didn't utilize him enough last year in his skill set. And so being able to move him around and get him the ball in different ways, him combined with the other guys that we have, I'm trying to figure out how to use everyone to their max and to their potential. And I think by not just having Jaden hand the ball off, where we can get him the ball in space a little bit more, I think is going to benefit us.
You guys have built your success up front over the years. You lost a couple quality offensive and defensive linemen in McCauley and Godfrey. Where are you at this year with the line?
Yeah, it's tough. McCauley was a 4-year starter and Garrett was 3 years. So it's tough to replace guys like that. And then, the other senior we lost, Jackson Clark, was just a kid that grew to be a pretty big boy and did some great things for us. So losing those 3 guys is always tough to replace, but we're really excited about the guys that we have this year. It's a young group. We only have 2 seniors on this group, but there's quite a bit of experience up there with James Howie starting last year. Derek Mills is a 2-year starter for us, and the other guys getting some pretty good time last year. And then the guys we have coming up from JV, they're good linemen. So I think it's just a matter of catching them up to the varsity speed, and that's going to take a couple games until they see themselves really on film and what they need to work on. But with Coach Mack, coaching those guys up, he seems really excited. And usually when Coach Mack's excited, we're going to be in good shape.
And you said they're one of the bigger lines you've had in quite some time. That's saying something.
It is. I mean, we were tipping the scales there, last Monday morning when we were weighing in. And I like what we average across the front. It's just some big bodies, some strong kids. And I think that's going to bode well because, we have some big backs too, but we got a lot of backs that remind me of alley cats. So, it's going to be good to have those guys up front. And again, they're hungry. They've been working hard. It's going to take them a little while, but as the season progresses, I think they're going to be just fine.
Yeah, like I said earlier, you guys obviously last year, not your typical year for Tioga football. Those injuries mounted up, but have you sensed more hunger this year, these guys, to get back on top of the section and make another deep playoff run?
Yeah. Everyone has that goal. I think everyone's goal is to make playoffs and win a sectional championship. And, even for myself, but also talking to the guys, we really don't try to dwell on that too much. I think I told Tim yesterday, I'm kind of sick and tired of hearing about the injuries last year. It's because one of our mottos is no excuses. And I thought last year, showed the strength of our program in a lot of ways. Yeah, it was a hard year in terms of getting through it and powering through. But that kind of tough year is just going to toughen you up. And so a lot of the kids coming back, yeah, they're hungry. Yeah, they want to play very well. Yeah, they want to win football games. And I think there's just kind of this sense of, we need to prove ourselves. This particular group, we need to prove ourselves and how good of a football team and how good of football players these guys really are. And one thing to point out to them, and sometimes it doesn't mean much, this group went undefeated at JV and a very tough schedule. We're a Class D team, and I think they only carried about 21, 22 guys that year against a pretty rugged Section 4 JV schedule. And so the talent is there. It's my job to get the talent out of them. It's their job to work hard. And if we can get that combination to happen, this could be a very, very good group.
Sticking with the offense a little bit, we talked, you lose Jake Brown, who had a big year for you, kind of a little bit of a surprise considering he had played soccer for, 3 years before that. But, your thoughts, you said you have so many weapons coming back this year, probably led by Shane Platukas and Logan Bellis in the backfield.
Yeah, I think it goes back to how much experience these guys got last year, and you even talk about Jake Brown. We went into the season last year and Brendan Sindoni, who was a senior, was our starting fullback, and Logan Bellis was our starting tailback, and they both get hurt within the first 3 weeks of the season. So it ended up being a big mix of guys in that backfield. And I just think there's enough talent there that it's going to be good to spread the ball around. And, not only does that keep people happy, but it makes guys block for each other better. I think spreading the ball around, so they can't key on one particular guy. We got some big backs and we got some smaller quick backs, so that combination is really, really nice to have. I think it's going to take me a couple games to really figure out, who's running the ball well and running the way that we want them to run. And if we can get more guys running the ball the way we want them to, more the merrier. And we're definitely okay spreading the ball out. And I think we're going to have quite a few guys that we trust put the ball in their hands, thinking they can do something special.
Talk about Platukas a little bit. Last year, he kind of broke out a little bit. The games he was able to play, I know he had some injuries as well, but who's he kind of remind you of some of your old Tioga backs? He's he's got the speed, but he's also pretty big too.
Yeah, he's put on 50 pounds since last year. I mean, he's our big boy back there. But he's not the only one too. We got Max Stoddard at fullback, who weighed in. He surprised me. He's a big kid, and so we, those two guys, and then you add into the mix guys like Don Palmer and Gavin Kithcart, who plays tight end, but we've been working in the backfield. So we got some big boys that we can run, but then you add basically all our wrestlers, the smaller guys that run the ball really, really well. So it is quite the combination. To answer your question though, particularly Shane, he was a sophomore last year, and he did some really good things, especially in that sectional final. He was able to go in and break off 2 long runs for us and get us right back in that thing. But he was still only a sophomore, and he played like a sophomore a lot of times. Where I'd like to see him excel is on defense, because he's more he plays with very good leverage as a football player, and it's natural to him. So I think if he can just kind of plant that seed in his head that he could be one heck of a linebacker, I think that's going to be his greatest contribution to us. Running the ball, we know what he can do. But if he steps up as a linebacker, he could be very, very good.
You said something interesting to me the other day when we talked. You have 9 players back on defense that played in the sectional finals. But so you're like your experience, but you said the one thing you need to be is better on defense. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, whether I scout a team or, I watch more film on ourselves, and I hate windshield wiper defenses. And what I mean by that is just, you go back and forth, and that's all you're doing. And you got to play defense downhill. And I just thought that a lot of it, I think, was our fault as coaches. I think we came out of 3 years with very strong defenses, and we could have taught those teams a different defense every week, and they would have played it to perfection. And I think we went into last year thinking we could do the same thing. And I think we ended up having our guys play slow because they weren't sure what to do. And so, part of the goal this year was get these guys playing fast. If we get them to play fast and get them to play downhill, their natural ability is going to take over. So that was our goal in all our offseason meetings. And that's been the goal so far. And we'll find out Saturday, but I think the kids seem more comfortable. They seem more comfortable. Granted, they're bringing that experience, but just in what we're asking them to do, I think they're very comfortable. I think they know what we want them to do. And hopefully down as we get through this regular season, and especially in the middle of the season, we start to play some very, very good defense just because we're very comfortable. They're not thinking so much, and they're playing fast and physical like we want them to.
Obviously, starting off with a tough Windsor squad, 7-3 a year ago, played Waverly in the playoffs. What do you see on tape of these guys? Obviously, when you're playing week 00, you don't have the previous week's tape. But what do you see this Saturday?
Yeah, it all depends, I guess. If they're doing a lot of the same stuff, we basically just been looking at the game where we played them last year, and we have some late games from in this the regular season last year. So that's all you can go off of. They're doing the same thing on us, and I think what we're telling the guys is, hey, we're just getting you ready for anything you could possibly see. So I know they return a really good lineman. I think he's a 5-year starter. They also return. They got a good back, and I don't know names, but number 10, number 42 stick out to me. They'll have a new kid at quarterback. I thought it was going to be their number 20, but it looks like they might be starting a young kid there, maybe a sophomore. But I also think, from what I hear, I think they returned quite a bit of their line last year. So It's tough to say. I don't know what to expect. I think I do, but sometimes you get into those games and you're not really sure, and you just kind of have to go with what you've taught your own kids and hope that you block and tackle well.
Looking ahead at Class D this year, it's back to 12 schools, which is nice to see. Sydney coming down from Class C, and then I think 3 schools, Groton, Trumansburg, Green Oxford, coming from 8-man football into 11-man football. Your thoughts on, I think it's Newark Valley, Spec, Tioga, and then the 3 8-man teams, well, now 11-man in your division. Your thoughts on your division this year?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I've talked quite a bit about Newark Valley and the respect I have for their coaches and how they get their kids to play. That's a rivalry. It's a Tioga County style rivalry, and it's been a good one over the years since I've been coaching. With Spec, they had a new coach there. I thought their kids were playing with kind of a little different attitude last year, in a good way, and they have a new coach. I think there's some excitement around that because they returned so much as a playoff team from last year. And we don't have them till week 8. So, whatever issues they're working through, they're going to be a good team by week 8 for sure. And then, like you said, we have those 3 teams coming from 8-man into 11-man, and I'm not really sure what to expect. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. We don't play those teams until I think we play them right in a row. I think we're week 5, 6, 7 with those teams. And I can't remember what order we play them in, but, I've played at Groton before and lost at Groton. I remember Trumansburg beating us up pretty good when I was an assistant over, 16 years ago now. So, and then Green Oxford, we have history with both those teams. And, I think we have enough time to kind of get some film on them and see how they're pulling it together. And it'll just be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they make that transition and how it works out for them. I'm glad to see it too. I think if I go back to like 2017, 2018, in that time period, I think we were around like 17, 18 D schools. And then, and then we got down to, I think we only had 8 at one point, maybe even less. So I just think it's good. It's good to play against, it is good to play up. But sometimes it's you don't have the depth, or you don't have all the big boys that the bigger schools have. And I don't mind playing the bigger schools. But every D school is playing a D schedule, so it's going to be very, very competitive. And whoever comes out of the section in Class D is going to be tested. And I just think it's a good thing for Class D football in Section 4.
Boy, it looks like the other division with Bainbridge, Guilford, Deposit, Hancock, Sydney, and Walton looks like that's going to be a dogfight for those 2 playoff spots over on that side.
It sure is. With Sydney coming down, it'll be interesting to see how they are and how they compete with those other 3 schools and BG and especially Delhi. They got some good kids back from last year. And then Deposit Hancock, they're really turning the corner as a program. So that'll be, and then Walton. I mean, we always keep our eye on Walton. They just play that brand of football that you better be ready for if you come across them. So we don't have Walton on our regular schedule, but we do play. We open with Deposit Hancock. After that's Delhi, 2 away games for us, and then we have BG at home. And those 3 teams are going to be good tests for us in the regular season, but also give us an idea of where we stand with that other division.
Talk about what it's like to be able to open up with this kind of atmosphere and event, getting to participate in the Waverly Game Day on Broad Street. And then, it's going to be a huge crowd for your game and then the game afterwards too. What's it like on Saturday, you think?
Yeah, I like playing down at Waverly Memorial Stadium. I think it's always a great atmosphere. And we're either playing Waverly or we're playing in this game, this opening weekend game. I appreciate Jason and Waverly Central School for allowing us to to be part of it. It's a great event. They have the venue to be able to host an event like this. And I think it's the right thing to do, to be part of their parade, because it's an opening day weekend. And, they invite us to do that. And so I don't mind it at all. I enjoy it. I think, us against Windsor is going to be a very good game, and I bet you a lot of people have that Waverly Troy game circled because it's going to be one heck of a ball game. And I think for a week 0 game, with Troy having a game under their belt, and I know how hard Waverly works over the summer. I mean, it's going to be playoff type atmosphere, and there's going to be some great football plays, I imagine, in that game, and whoever wins that game is going to earn it. So.
We know Windsor's sticking around to watch because they got to play Waverly, but are you going to stick around and watch, or are you heading home after?
I might have to. I got a wedding reception to get to after our game, so I might have to be sneaking looks at my cell phone and see what's going on there. And that might be a game I go back and watch though Sunday morning.
What when you talk to this team about goals heading into this year? Obviously, we've talked about it. Trying to get back on top, right? So But when you talk about goals, is it just week by week, or is it do you guys set multiple goals?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I've been not careful. I just, a lot of times I think, and I think it happened last year, especially going into the season with the winning streak we were on. You need your kids to play free and not. I don't want them worried about losing. I want them playing to win, and in order to do that. You can't be worried about a week 0 game, you can't be worried about a game at the end of the season when you're in week 0 or week 1 or week 2. Like you just got to take it really just one practice at a time. And I think with these kids, if I'm going to get them to work the way that they need to, that needs to be the focus. Are we working harder than we did yesterday? Did we not work as hard as we did yesterday? And are we being consistent with how hard we work? So. These kids have goals. They want to win just as much as past teams have won. And but to me, that's a strength of ours, and how these kids are motivated and how hungry they are. And I've seen it. We're in the week, or this was our 10th practice. So I've seen it for 10 practices now, and I saw it for 18 lifts and strength and conditioning sessions over summer. So I'm excited for them. I've told them straight up, it's on them. I said, I know it's my job to motivate you. It's my job to get you prepared for games, but it's on them to show up and work. And if we can do that, we can do something special. But it can't be one day here, one day there. It's got to be every single day. And that's really our goal right now, is how consistent can we be from day to day and week to week.
All right, Coach. That is Tioga head coach Nick Aiello. Good luck this Saturday. We'll be calling the game on the radio, and excited to be there at Memorial Stadium. We'll talk to you on Broad Street as well on Choice 102. But good luck this Saturday, and for the rest of this year, I'm sure we'll talk to you down the road.
All right, thanks guys. I appreciate it.
And we want to thank Tioga head coach Nick Aiello for joining us here on Two Guys Talking Sports. Tim, let's turn our attention to the Northern Tier League. We both got to see Athens last week. Big win over South Williamsport. And very impressive. I think the play calling was impressive, I think, to start the year. Connor Davidson looked really good. One mistake after he threw a 70-yard touchdown that got called back by a penalty, throws an interception over the middle, kind of just not seeing a linebacker, I think. But other than that one blip, he looked really good.
He's dangerous with his feet, and that's the best I've ever seen him throw the football. He threw those 2 slants to James Friend, who really took care of business once he caught him. But they were in small windows and right on his hands. So if he continues to play like that, they're going to be. I don't see anybody other than Troy beating him in the NTL. I think they're going to be. They should be 9-1.
They'll be favored by double digits, I think, in every game.
They should be, yeah.
Other than Troy.
I think they're clearly the second best team.
Before we get off it, though, I do want to give a shout out to one thing that last year with Connor. I think the receivers were young, not really experienced. Ryan Cook, Connor didn't throw his best ball into the end zone, and Cook took it off the turf and caught it for a touchdown. I mean, if he has receivers, helping him out when he, is a little off.
Gage Marmer had the catch in the end zone on the long ball, but that was pretty perfectly thrown. That he caught him right in stride.
He's got 3-4 weapons out there he's going to be dangerous. And like you said, the slants were perfectly executed. And I've complained for years that high school coaches only go to the outside, low percentage throw. They're throwing it up deep. Those slants over the middle in high school football is open a lot of the time if you have the personnel to execute, right?
Yeah, and Friend's faster than I thought he was. He once he caught those, he was to town.
So yeah, it was pretty impressive. Athens gets a win over South Williamsport. They head now to, as I said last Friday night on the radio, beautiful Chickasha, Pennsylvania, to take on Northwest. Obviously, I don't think we're both picking Athens there, and
big.
Hopefully, Athens got to take their starters out late in the third quarter against South Williamsport. They could take them out in the
halftime.
Maybe even earlier than that.
Maybe.
Which is great for the young kids to get some playing time for Athens. But yeah, I don't think Northwest will have much for Athens this week. Interesting one, Kawaneski Valley, big win over Towanda last week, 38-0. They traveled to take on the Rams in Wyalusing. I think Kawaneski Valley, I would have to pick them going into this game.
I mean, I wasn't. I think I told you I thought Kawaneski won 4 or 5 games this year, and maybe you have to up that a little bit. I wasn't shocked they beat Towanda. The fact they beat them 38-0 surprised me a little bit. I think this would be a test, though, playing on the road for a young team and a program that's doesn't have a pedigree is sometimes different. So if they go over there and put it to Wyalusing, then we'll know they're for real.
Hughesville at Towanda, I think I would pick Hughesville in that one after seeing Towanda's first week. I know Towanda, I think they're missing a good player in Gage Evans.
Yeah, he hurt us.
But Reese Slider is going to get better as a quarterback. I think they'll improve as the year goes on under Coach Wecker and the staff down there, but it's just a young team.
And, I think the NTL is a little down this year, so I think they'll have every opportunity to rebound and win some games.
Montgomery Warrior Run.
Montgomery's better than I thought they were. Took care of business last week, but I probably like Warrior Run in this game.
Same here. North Bend Mansfield at Sayre. Obviously, Sayre's dinged up after that week 1 game against Troy. The schedule maker is not kind to the Redskins this year, so I think North Bend Mansfield's the favorite there. I would pick them to win by double digits.
And I thought Sayre did some nice things early in that game when they were 100% healthy. Unfortunately, that's why I didn't think they should have played the game in the first place. But Sayre, depending on how dinged up they are, will dictate if they'll be able to be competitive this year.
South Williamsport at Canton. I think Canton got the win last week against Northwest, came back to win 17-6, I think, after being down 6-0. But I think South Williamsport, as the year goes on, I think that South team's going to win the games, and they got a lot of that Lusk kid.
Both the running backs were pretty solid.
Yeah. So I think they're going to – I would pick South in this one.
Canton's still got some playmakers. Gardner's a solid ball player. They've lost so much over the last 3 years. I probably have to agree with you, but I think they might keep it closer than you think.
On Saturday, Muncie at Wellsboro. I didn't see how Muncie did last week. I believe they lost. Took a loss.
So, Wellsboro got shellacked by Montoursville. And
Muncie lost 21-7 to Warrior Run.
So not a terrible loss. They lost last year to Warrior Run too, and ended up having a pretty good year. So
and those two outcomes don't really help us pick this week.
No,
Montoursville could be really good against Wellsboro. So I would pick Muncie, I guess.
I would take Muncie as well.
Then the other one, we talked about it in the last episode, Troy Waverly, the big one, though. We'll talk about it again. After we recorded the last one, I was, going over in my head what the score would be. I do think Troy's a favorite by, 10 points, maybe if there was a betting odds on this one. I think 35-21 Troy, but I think it could be closer than that too. I wouldn't be surprised if it was,
I think this
down
game
to the last minute.
This game has the potential to be a nail biter, but it also has the potential to see Troy win big. I think if Waverly wins, it's going to be a close game. I think Troy could fall anywhere on the spectrum.
Yeah.
I just think Troy's got too many horses right now. I like Waverly up front. I like Waverly athletically. I'm just not sure they have the same kind of team speed that Troy showed against Sayre and all last year.
Should be a fun one. We'll have 3 games on Choice 102 and the My Hometown Today app this week. North Penn Mansfield at Sayre Friday night, and then the doubleheader Tioga Windsor, and then Troy Waverly 3 and 6 o'clock, although that nightcap could be a little later than 6 o'clock. Before we take off for this week of Two Guys Talking Sports, we want to throw it to our sponsor, UHS Sports Medicine.
UHS Sports Medicine is your team's partner, keeping you healthy both on and off the field. Learn more at nyuhs.org.
Thanks to UHS Sports Medicine for hopping on this year as a sponsor of Two Guys Talking Sports. If your business wants to join us on Two Guys Talking Sports as a sponsor, just get a hold of Tim or myself, and we'll get you set up and on the air right away. Tim, it should be a great weekend of football. Like I said, I'll be at the Lockhart Street Bowl Friday night. I know you'll be out of town moving into
my
college.
Youngest son into college.
But then Saturday, I'll see you over at the Memorial Stadium. And on Broad Street, you're going to join me on the radio, too, a little bit. But it should be a great Saturday over at Memorial Stadium. We're looking forward to it.
It's going to be, the weather's going to cooperate this year, a little different than last year. So it should be fun. That's
going to do it for episode 3 of Two Guys Talking Sports here in season 2. For Tim Burney, I'm Pat McDonald signing off. We'll talk to you next week.